Hi, Amanda. How are you doing?
What's up? Just chilling.
Oh, I thought I got you. I thought I had finally kicked the habit. I felt like we were so close, and I got you to stop saying it. And you were
Well, I
like,
guess
"What
I'm
up?"
not chilling anymore. I guess I'm not chilling anymore because I'm back to work, but whatever.
That's all right. That's good. It's good.
I got
We all
today off
back.
though, so
Nice. I like it. So today I'm excited. I've been working on getting this guest for a little while. He is a faculty member in our psych department. He's actually a good friend of mine also. I can't wait to introduce you. But Dr. Travis Pashak is going to join us here in a little bit. And I wanted to bring Dr. Pashak in because he's been talking a lot about just with everything that's going on, the pandemic, all of the social issues that are happening out there right now. He has kind of been like the front runner on campus in helping students kind of just talk through some of these things and understand. And, for prospective students, I think it's great because I want them to see and learn from an expert. I'm not an expert. You obviously are not an expert, right, Carol
no.
Baskin? Right. So we wanted to bring in an expert in for Dr. Pashak. What I think is going to be really cool is I wanted to talk to him just kind of about what the expectations are at university level thinking, and just to really give a taste for students who have been in high school. You understand what it's like being a college student, but for students that have been in high school for a while, what it's like to be there at the university level and see kind of what's just asked of you and how it goes. So I'm going to ask him to see if we can get him on here. He should be joining us pretty shortly, but I'll make sure I introduce you too, so that you can get a chance to meet him, and we'll see how it's all going on. I know that he's got some coworkers like me too. So hey, there he is.
Hey folks, how's it going?
What's up?
Hey, so Amanda, this is Dr. Travis Pashak. Travis, this is
Hello.
Amanda.
Hey Amanda, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
So
you.
so I was explaining a little bit to Amanda kind of about some of the conversations you and I have had in the past about just college and the thought process that goes into some of the work, and just kind of you and we have our Zen moments, our philosophy moments, and talk where we can go to that. But I think Amanda is going to start us off here. She's going to ask you a little bit about yourself and just kind of figure out who you are.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, just introduce yourself, I guess.
Okay, perfect. Like you said, my name is Travis Pashak. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I teach in the Department of Psychology here at SVSU. I also happen to be the department chair, and I'm also a licensed psychologist. So I have a part-time role off campus where I do therapy and counseling services.
That's cool.
So
And
now you see why I'm always calling him, right, Amanda? Like, it's okay. It's good. It's really good. Go ahead, Amanda. I'm sorry I jumped in.
so Travis, how did you end up at SVSU, and like what made you choose SVSU?
Yeah. So the short answer is that I ended up at SVSU because I love teaching, but I'll give you a little more detail than that. Um, Initially, going back a long time, I just always wanted to be a therapist, like as a, I don't know, eighth grader, ninth grader, 10th grader. That was my long-term job goal. Um, Went to University of Michigan for undergrad. I went to St. Louis University out in St. Louis, Missouri for my PhD. And kind of along that journey, everyone kept saying, if you really want to go be in this profession, you got to learn about research, you got to learn about the science of mental health. It's not just being able to talk about feelings, it's you have to learn about, all the theory and everything that's behind all of it. And I kind of said, okay, I guess sort of took the fake it till you make it approach and took some research classes, took some stats, helped out in the lab. Um, Ended up really liking it and really felt compelled to keep that a part of my career. So as I was finishing up grad school, I was looking for available positions. I was interested in trying to get closer to home, and there happened to be an opening at SVSU for teaching clinical psych oriented classes. And I was kind of shocked. I mean, it was a perfect fit for what I've been training for and what I was hoping to do. So um, it's really I feel really fortunate to be here, and it feels like a perfect fit. I mean, I get to teach psychology and teach science, kind of broadly speaking, I get to do a little bit of therapy, and I get to teach students how to work toward careers where they would be doing therapy. So it's kind of like a little bit of everything.
That's cool.
That's really cool. I love the teaching aspect. A lot of times students ask me about faculty and kind of why they're at different institutions, and the fact that you love the teaching part and get a chance to do that while still taking part in the science, I think you're right. It's the right fit. So speaking of teaching, I want to know, how is what you're teaching in class now for your students, specifically maybe some of these freshman classes that I'm always interested in. How was what you're teaching in those? How is that relevant to what's happening for students today?
Sure. I kind of have a lot of answers to that, but I'll try and break it up into a few key things. One is, I think, the sort of classes that especially freshmen are going to be taking. I know people like to complain about the general education courses, the gen eds that we abbreviate it as. If I'm going to school because I want to be like a music teacher, why do I have to take philosophy? Or if I'm going to school because I want to be an engineer, why do I have to take psychology, right?
Or if I'm going to school to be a PTW major and go to law school, I'm sorry, Amanda, I was just trying to help you out.
Yeah, I had
Okay.
to take both of those classes. Didn't do
That's
too
good.
well in them either.
Well, here you go. Here's why. Sorry,
So
I cut it.
I think it's reasonable, right? It makes sense that people are maybe like skeptical about that. But I think the analogy I like to use is if you were to ask your past self, right? Like if you were to talk to you as an eighth grader, right? That eighth grader might kind of think, yeah, I'm set for life. I've got my friends, my interests, my hobbies, the stuff I like to do, the way I like to seek entertainment. I've got the way I see the world, and that's good enough. I'm fine, right? But then if you flash forward to like the you that is a junior or a senior in high school, you've probably grown and changed and transformed a lot in those 4 years, right? The university experience is an attempt to, even further open you up, get you to see the world in new ways. Um, so even if you have some sort of specific career pathway in mind, you're probably going to be shocked at all the different ways that you can make an impact in that area. Um, like for people that think, oh, I'm interested in health, like becoming a physician, go and get your MD is not the only way to do that, right? You can work for insurance companies, you can be a lobbyist, you can work on the political end of what healthcare is. There's just a ton of ways that you can have a positive impact in the realm of health. So anyways, to try and I guess put that shorter, I would say the university experience is important, and the freshman level classes are important because you don't know yet what you don't know yet, right? You're probably going to find some of that stuff really eye-opening and compelling, and you're going to have light bulbs go off that you wouldn't have anticipated.
Yeah, a lot of the philosophy stuff is in my LSAT book that I've been trying to work on.
Yeah, for sure. That's
And
sad as rough. That's
yeah. And how is like data important to like what happens in the classroom?
Sure. I guess I was sort of alluding to earlier that psychology isn't just this sort of touchy-feely kind of field, right? It's also a science, and so data is what makes it a science for us. It's one thing to say, oh, I think people do X, Y, and Z because of blah, blah. But being able to back it up with evidence of some kind is crucial. And I guess to tie that to what you were asking about how it's all relevant to what's going on today, I mean, we're living in the midst of a global pandemic, right? It's not just medical. It's not just that we need medical treatments for it. It's that we need people to comply with the advice that the CDC is giving, right? So how do we get human beings to behave in certain ways, to socially distance, to wash their hands, to wear a mask, right? All of that is psychology. And we need to have evidence for the ways to communicate about those things so that people will follow them, and it'll preserve, us as a society. Um, Not to get too heavy, I mean, the pandemic is obviously a big deal. We had the flooding in Midland, and it's like, how do we get people to step up and volunteer? That's the whole psychology in and of itself, right? To study service-mindedness and philanthropy, and like, how do we get people involved in issues that may not directly impact them, right? Also, recent events, I mean, we're seeing this resurgence of interest in racism and being anti-racist. And how do we make a positive impact on communities of color? That's psychology too, right? Trying to understand the biases that we have, how to work against them, how to educate people so that we can work toward a more just society. I think all of that is relevant, and all of that relies directly upon us collecting data and showing the specific ways that certain things are related to other things and how we can, predict certain outcomes. We can't do that without all of the numbers and the statistics. So I know my psych students are surprised sometimes that they have to take stats, but it's like, guys, we can't do any of this without the math.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great point, because I can remember very specifically, and I remember finishing my freshman level. I did a calculus course freshman year, and I was like, got done. I was like, yes, I am done with math. And I remember physically like sitting there and thinking, I am done with math here. I don't have to ever take another math class again. This is a big excitement. And here it is, a lot later, we'll say 16, 17 years later. And this summer, I've already taken 2 abbreviated math courses on Khan Academy, because I'm working on some projects in admission that require some different statistical methods that I just need to brush up on. And
Yeah.
I think it's that, that thought of making sure that you follow through with all the different areas and all the different topics. And part of that, you harken back to the general education, getting to see all of that all comes back into being a critical thinker in the end, and being, if I can call myself somewhat professional, and making sure that I'm going to do the best job that I can possible. I do have one answer for you, though. You asked, studying psychology to get people to kind of comply with some of these CDU. Amanda and I are doing our part, because we sign off every podcast with, do you want to tell them, Amanda? Go ahead.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Nice.
So we're helping out. So
yeah.
I want to get back.
I mean, it is pretty amazing the ways that you wouldn't expect that your general education sort of classes become relevant in life. I've got young kids, and I was building a ramp for a play set this summer, and it's like I literally had to get on Google and remind myself how to do trig, like to get all the measurements right so that I wasn't purchasing too much or too little from Home Depot. Like, it took some work, but thankfully I had been taught that subject before, and I just kind of needed a brush up. Managing your own personal finances, right? Like making decisions about the advertisements that you see on a daily basis, and being a critical thinker about, when that commercial says I should buy this product because then I'm going to look amazing and I'm going to have a 6-pack within 2 weeks or whatever, just training yourself to ask for the evidence. And the university experience really helps people grow in their ability to do that and to be an independent, critical thinker.
I see that a lot with, we talk about social media, and it's always a big political topic, talking about fake news and these social media posts and the meme generation. I know in higher ed, we talk a lot about the meme generation of people coming up, and that's how they expect to get their data. But you're right. Being able to sit and take a look at all of the evidence at hand it's going to be really important for just anybody's future.
Yeah, and that's not to say that memes aren't amazing, right? Because that's a pretty sizable portion of my day.
Yeah, same.
But data too. Yes, data.
I think I need to talk to you later. I think we can create some amazing higher ed memes, you and I. But we'll talk about that. That's a different topic, different day. That's okay. So let's get back to some of the students that we're talking to, prospective students who are getting ready to finish. I'm talking specifically about high school seniors and juniors right now. I'm getting a lot of questions from parents in high school with everything that's going on, the pandemic, just not knowing exactly what the future, the near future is going to look like. I know at SVSU, we have our NEST program in place, where if students are really interested and want to see how we're planning to reintegrate our classrooms and get students back on campus, we're putting that all over our website. But I still get the question all the time of, maybe I could just take a gap year. There's this kind of recent trend of, I'm just finishing high school. I want to take a gap year before I start any type of university experience. I know your suggestion is not to already. I'm just going to assume that because you and I have talked about this a lot. But can
Yeah.
you explain for my students, though, why you think that's not a great idea?
Yeah, I mean, so I think the decision is a personal one, right? And I think reasonable people could have different conclusions that they come to. But I think the stance that I would take is, again, I'm going to refer back to this analogy of like if you could ask yourself back in 8th grade, hey, what do you think about taking a year off before high school just to relax? Yeah, probably would sound pretty good in that moment, but in 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, would you then regret that you weren't continuing to build your skill sets, to practice the sport that you love, maybe the musical instrument that you play, or keep touch with the network of friends that you're developing? Um, I don't really think there would be a huge benefit to that time off. And I think that people often will propose a gap year with some kind of goal in mind, right? They might say like, well, I want to focus on saving up some money, or I want to focus on doing some like charity work or something. And to that, I would say, awesome, those are great goals. You can do that while also working on your college education, right? You can be taking classes either full-time or part-time and still be an active member of your community, still be working, right? Most SVSU students are juggling some amount of both of those things at any given time.
Yeah, definitely. I love the analogy. Sometimes, I always think of the brain as a muscle, right?
Yeah.
And coming from my psychology expert here, you're my go-to guy. I'm just putting it out there. If you don't use it, you lose it sometimes. And I feel like being in practice and keeping in that back to me with the math question and you having to look up trig. I love the idea of Dr. Travis Pashak, the stats guy, the guy I go to for all of my information, getting on Google to look up basic trig,
I
right?
mean, I couldn't remember if it was sine or cosine. I had to check.
Exactly. So in that field, treating the brain like a muscle and staying active, I think for most students that's good. I think you're right though. Also, there might be some students out there where the gap year makes sense. They might have a personal issue or something that's coming on. But
Yeah, and I don't want this to
sometimes,
come off as critical for someone that might choose that.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't think we would be, but I think for most people though, it's just if you put it in that perspective that the brain is a muscle that we have to exercise it, and that, like you said, you're going to continue to develop. You don't want to put that development on hold for anything. If anything, you're trying to accelerate it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you're considering pursuing a university education, you're not just buying a service, right? It's not like you are having your house remodeled in some way, or you're buying like piano lessons where there's this like really specific outcome, right? You are immersing yourself in an experience where you don't know what you will look like, think like, act like, and behave like at the end, because you want that, right? Because you want yourself to grow and change throughout it. So delaying that, I don't know. It just seems like, why would you put off your future?
Mm-hmm. I think to some extent too, and correct me if you're wrong, if I'm wrong, and you think differently. And Amanda, I want you to chime in here too, because we just got done talking with Nicole. Nicole Horn was a very successful transfer student, but Nicole had a very specific plan going from community college to university. I talk to a lot of students who are saying, "Well, I don't really know, right? I don't know what I want to be in 4 years. I don't want." So they say, "Well, why don't I just do the university or the community college experience and try to save money, and then I'll find my way to a university eventually as well." Do you have any thoughts about that and what you think would be the best route?
I do. Did you want Amanda to go first, or I missed your prompt there?
No, let's have Amanda go, and then I want to hear I want you to rebut Amanda. No, I want you to let Amanda know what she said wrong. I mean, no, just let us know what you think. Go ahead, Amanda.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
from my experience, I just wanted to get out of my house, just to get away. And that was probably one of the best things I could have done. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I probably wouldn't even be in college right now. So, and I know that's the same for other students. And some people who have gone to community college just end up not liking it so much because there are some teachers that just aren't as adequate as university level. Sometimes, not all the time. It's just
Sure.
it's occasionally. It just depends on the teacher, you know.
Yeah.
But like my brother had that experience. He just school wasn't for him.
Yeah. Travis, what do you think?
I think students go into it with a pretty reasonable mindset of, oh, well, I can do the first year or two at a cheaper institution and then transfer to a 4-year college university. Um, I think for many of them, they don't end up saving money because maybe some credits get bounced around in the transfer process. Maybe their plans change a bit partway through, whether it's the third or fourth semester, they're changing their major. And just the feel of commuting or whatever to community college. You're not quite getting that traction, right, of starting with the university experience, having a cohort, right? So having this other set of peers that are all working through the same topic areas that you are, I think can be really supportive. And I think there's a lot of not so obvious factors about being at university that kind of wrap it up into a package and support you on your way through, that are just sort of hard to quantify. Specific to SVSU, we also have the most affordable tuition rates in the state of Michigan for any public school, such that there's a number of community colleges that are pricier than us, right? So, I mean, I do really think it makes sense to just kind of dive in.
And another thing too, you like I was pretty independent in high school, but now that I'm away, like I've had to learn independence and like pay my bills and stuff and have like not spend all my money everywhere, you know.
We're still working on that with you. It's
Still
okay.
working on that, but it's okay.
It's all right. It's good. It's I think you're both very right. In my profession, I have an ethical obligation to sit down with every student, and we take this really seriously at SVSU, to sit down with every student who has this question and talk about them, because I think it is a personal choice. Nicole is the perfect example from our previous. She had everything laid out and planned so that she was all along the way. She even mentioned she had a couple of classes that didn't transfer because she originally was thinking business and now she's more PTW and that sort of thing. But she had a plan put in place and it ended up working for her. Most students, I think, don't realize though when they do that, if they're coming in undecided, the school that they go to is really going to help determine that. So they tend to somewhat limit their options sometimes by staying at a community college. Again, not that a community college isn't a great chance for a lot of students to get, but if it's that bachelor's degree you're seeking, right? The quickest, back to math, the quickest way to your answer is a straight line between 2 points, right? So it is difficult. And on the finance side, you're right, Dr. Pashak. We work really hard with our students in financial aid, and especially a lot of our local students will find it that if they're going to get their bachelor's degree, let me quantify that. So if they're going to get, it is less expensive to come to SVSU for 4 years than to try to transfer, just because the amount of need-based financial aid that is available at the beginning. So now, not every student that's true, and that's why it's important to talk to people like me. I can't put out that blanket statement. So I think you're both right on there. I hate to admit it, Amanda, even you.
I mean, I think another idea that kind of ties into this is again, like you're not just purchasing the diploma, right?
Yes.
If that's all it was, then I suppose it would really just be a question of like, well, where can I get that piece of paper for the least amount of money, right? But you are immersing yourself, you are engaging in a process of learning and change. And so what I try to tell my students is like, don't think of this as just you're trying to get to where you have a title. Try to think of it as like, what problem do you see in the world that you want to try to fix?
Yeah.
Right? So it's not just I want to be an engineer. Think about what is the issue that you care about. Like maybe you care about the environment. Being a chemist or an engineer of some kind isn't the only way to affect change in how we create products, recycle products, handle our own consumption, and how we handle the world that we live in, right? There's a number of different related careers that could all have a role in that. And kind of diving into the university experience, digging into your general education classes with an open mind is going to help you see the different options that are in front of you and maybe even create new options, right? We're in this sort of wild era of everything is increasingly technological, and there are new careers starting every few years in these different areas where there just don't exist specific plans for them yet because we don't know that they're going to be there in 5 years, right? So you kind of have to train yourself to be this open, critical thinker who's good with data, good with decision making, good with people, and it can help you fit in a number of different places.
That's awesome. Very awesome. Train your brain. I remember you said that once.
Shorter way of saying it. I suffer from wordiness.
No, I love it. It was very helpful. So I think it's time. Speaking of training your brain, it's time for Nick's irreverent question of the day.
Oh man. Okay.
There's there's a little budget side. Speaking of training your brain, Amanda, you don't know this, but Dr. Pashak and we met when he first started SVSU. Let me ask him, do you remember how we met? Where did we always see each other?
The locker room.
There you go.
The locker room.
Travis and I are early risers. And what I mean by that is, especially before kids, we would get up early and go and work out in the Rider Center every morning before work. And we'd always see each other. This is where these talks started happening. It's one of my favorite parts of, I was going to say working out, but I'm there to actually work out. No, but it's one of my favorite parts about being at a university is you get to meet new people who have these ideas, and you can have these conversations even in a locker room after working out. So my irreverent question of the day is, I've been sitting in quarantine. I've been really good. I've been watching my intake. I have not lost weight, but I have not gained weight in quarantine. So I'm excited about that. But you have always been my fitness guru, and we've talked about all different types. I want to know,
okay.
my irreverent question is, what are you doing to stay in shape during the pandemic? And don't say chasing around those kids.
Okay, fair. I have not been perfect, but I have been trying to keep the boot camp mentality alive. I set my alarm. I try and get up and exercise before the kids are awake. I joined a buddy of mine from back in high school started this socially distant running club thing on Facebook. And the rules are basically you run and you take a selfie and you say, "Hey, good job of everyone," right? So it's just kind of nice. The accountability has been weirdly effective, and I know from a psychological standpoint that that's how exercise works. You do better in groups, right? It's the social facilitation principle. We work harder when there's other people around. And even though it's on Facebook, it is really helpful. So I've gotten into running. I try and do a few miles at least once a week. I have a couple of dumbbells at home, and I lift some weights in the mornings.
So you're keeping at it?
I'm trying to keep at it. It's honestly, I'm a psychology professor. I'm not going to become some Olympian or world-class weightlifter or whatever. I'm not going to be a swimsuit model, and that's perfectly fine. I'm good with my body. I'm just trying to keep it functional. It's more for the mental health benefits. I'm in a good mood most of the day if I started it right and ate a decent breakfast and got some exercise in. It just makes me feel like a more stable human. On the days when I sleep in, I tell myself, "Oh yeah, sleeping in feels really good. This is gonna be worth it," and then I feel cruddy later. It's weird.
Yeah, man. One of these days, I'm gonna get you to come out and join our rucking group sometime. I think you would. It's the running, like you said, keeping people. What's the word you used?
The accountability of
accountability.
It.
Yes.
Yeah, they notice when you're missing. Yeah.
Exactly. We started a rucking group, joining a rucking group out in Bay City, and have enjoyed it. Rucking, Amanda, I should qualify it because I say it and people look at me funny. It is, we wear heavy weighted backpacks and we hike for 3 to 10 miles, sometimes longer, just depending on,
No
see,
thanks.
she's already like, but it's better for a guy my size. It's better than running because I hate running, but
I'll pass
okay.
on the Lyme disease, okay?
Oh, I love it.
Nice.
Well, Dr. Pashak, thank you for your time. This was really helpful, and
Those freshman classes.
definitely will enjoy our discussion. So take care of those kids and the wife of yours, and enjoy a little bit more time. And hopefully I get to see you really, really soon in the future.
Yeah, hopefully soon. Will do. Thanks for having me, and I hope that I get to see many of the people viewing this in the coming months. Take care.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Wash your hands.
Nice. See, I told you you were gonna like him, right? Was that a good? Was
He's
that how?
cool.
What did you learn, Amanda? Let me kind of pick your brain a little bit in this.
That those freshman classes are a lot more important than you may think. Because I didn't do as well as I wanted to do in a philosophy class that I had my freshman year, and maybe I'll retake it now because I want to do better.
No, it's and I'm telling you, you're gonna wake up. You're gonna be old like me. It's okay. It happens. Um, and you kind of look back. You're like, yeah, okay. Now I kind of see where all of this fits in and why that all helped me be as good as I can be in my role. So one day when you're arguing a case in front of the Supreme Court, I want you to think back in your conversation with me. Hopefully, it's not against me. And be like, oh, philosophy. Yeah, I get it now. I totally get it. Here are the
Yeah,
stats.
I'm just a perfectionist, and I just wanted it to go like as perfect as possible, and it just didn't.
That's
You know?
all right, Carol Baskin. I hope everything is well on your end. Welcome back to work. I'm glad you're joining the working force again. And yeah, it's all right. It's good. And I hopefully get to see you very soon too, as well. All right.
Wash your hands.
You wash your hands. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon. Cool. Okay. Just gotta stretch out.
Please put that in.
Keep that in. All right, I will.